Hello and welcome back to Sports Talk with Dad. Heck of a show here for you today. I have some fun questions for you today. And at the end of the show, you and I are going to rank the NFL divisions from best to worst, maybe in reverse. But hang out because I think you'll be surprised at some of our answers. And I know you and I are going to be different on a couple of these. But before we get into that, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who grew up with Brothers Grimm, who wrote the fairy tales, my dad, Tim.
I grew up with Grimm brothers.
That's, all they were missing was the fairy tales.
Have you never heard your uncle's stories? You would have heard a lot of fairy tales.
I'm sure I would have. The problem is when you're, 30 years younger than your oldest brother, they have a tendency not to last
22 years
I get older.
22 years younger than my oldest brother. But their stories were good, and then surprisingly, I found out how much, and disturbingly, how many of his stories were true. But that's for another time and another program. You really want to get into
There's
those.
still stories that I know I haven't heard, which is interesting because as I was getting older, Grandma, before she passed away, and especially my Aunt Pat before she passed away, started to hint at some of the stories that I was missing and some gaps in timelines. And I'm like, And then both of them were gone, and now I can't ask them. So I 100% have to rely on you for this. And you're just not telling me these stories. And that's not fair. But speaking of stories, I was messing around on my phone last night after the kids went to sleep. And as always happens,
I told you to stay off those sites.
I went down a wormhole.
Okay, those
and I ended up on Reddit because where else better is there to be than Reddit? If you're new to this show, I am a conspiracy theory fan. I don't believe necessarily in a lot of the conspiracy theories, but I appreciate them.
I'm questioning that because you're always watching them.
There's so much work and mind power that goes into coming up with conspiracy theories. It's no different than watching a movie. It may be fictional, but it's still awesome. I mean, I don't think Top Gun really happened, yet it's still a good movie. Batman's obviously not real, but it's still fun to listen to the comic, or read the comics, I should say, and watch the movies.
Yeah, well, Batman's never claimed to be authentic. I mean, it's a comic book.
I mean, only crazy people claim half of these to be authentic, but it's still the manpower and the thought process that goes into them. So anyways, I was looking up conspiracy theories, and I came across actually something with the NFL that I didn't know the answer to. I was wrong on this, and I want to see. So don't look at any NFL divisions right now.
I'm not.
Put your computer away. No cheating, because I want to see if you can guess this.
I will look right at you.
All right.
And look down.
So there are divisions, right?
Correct.
And they are different ways apart, right?
Different ways apart.
Like there's some that are closer, some that are farther away.
Oh, geographically?
Geographically.
Okay.
We got there.
Okay.
I didn't think what I wanted to say. Anyways, can you guess which two division rivals are the furthest geographically apart from each other?
Now or in the past?
Now.
Well, it could be Miami and New England. It can be Houston and Indianapolis.
Also good guesses.
Used to be like Carolina and Seattle, for God's sakes. Would it be Arizona and Seattle? Although they're far apart.
So what is your guess?
I'm missing a division. Hang on. This is entertaining content while I sit here and think.
Like I said, I didn't get it right. I had guessed somebody specific, and I want you to guess beforehand.
Okay.
And then you can look at the divisions, and then I'll give you a hint. But I want to see how close you can get, because I would have never guessed this.
I mean, just on the surface of it, they're all pretty lined up geographically now. So Miami, New England, I mean, that's going from the top.
That was my guess, and I was wrong. Miami and New England are actually the third farthest apart.
So Arizona and Seattle?
Arizona and Seattle is the fourth farthest apart.
Okay. So what are they?
So take a look at the divisions.
All right, I'm taking a look at the divisions.
And see if you can guess. And let us know what you think in the comments below before we get to the answers, because we will give those. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
Well, I'm looking at the conferences. Could it be Buffalo and Miami?
It is not.
These are all fairly...
New England and Miami was actually farther away from each other than Buffalo and Miami.
Yeah. Okay,
which surprised me. I didn't think about that. It honestly caught me off guard. But yes, no, New England and Miami are the farthest apart in that division at 1,473 miles apart. They are the third farthest. You ready for a hint?
Go ahead, because I'm looking at these, and
this is where it caught me off guard, because I was looking top to bottom as well. But side to side, the United States is much farther apart.
Correct. They're 3,000 miles apart. And I'm looking, I mean, you've got Dallas to Washington or Dallas to New York.
Dallas to New York is the second farthest apart at 1,570 miles apart.
Wow. Okay. Just give me the other one, because like I said, this is not the greatest content watching me struggle.
All right. Well, here, let me give you this hint. This team moved. Before they moved, they were 1,587 miles apart. And then this one team moved within the division just a couple years ago to make it 1,610 miles apart from each other. Okay. So they are farther apart now than they were before. Still, though, would be the farthest apart no matter when. But this team did move.
It moved. I would have guessed St. Louis to L.A., but they're not that far apart.
The Rams are not a part of this.
The only other team that's moved was L.A., or the Raiders, from Oakland to...
It is not the Raiders. Vegas. There's another team that moved.
San Diego?
San Diego moved to L.A. San Diego is one of the teams.
Well, the other team in their conference is Vegas, Kansas City.
Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers are 1,610 miles apart, making them 40 miles farther away than any other division rival.
Wow. I didn't know. I did not, even though you're middle of the country to the farthest.
I never would have guessed that.
I never guessed that.
It made me realize how big side to side the United States is. Because again, I'm looking top to bottom as well. I thought Buffalo, Miami made perfect sense. Or New England, Miami, or Arizona, Seattle, right? Because they're top to bottom, all the way up, all the way down. But here you have Kansas City and LA, which you wouldn't think are that far apart, but they are.
And I was thinking back in the day, Carolina was in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And that was, that
would have been. That's a whole country.
3,000. Even Tampa Bay and Green Bay at one time was 1,500.
Still wouldn't have made the list. I mapped that out. List. But yeah, so Chiefs and Chargers are the farthest, followed by the Cowboys and Giants, then Patriots, Dolphins, Seahawks, Cardinals, and then Colts, Texans. My first guess was Colts, Texans. Then I went Patriots, Dolphins, and then I was like, oh, Cowboys, Giants makes sense.
I thought Colts, Texans.
Never in a million years. On the reverse side,
the NFC North is the closest
division.
Can
you guess which two division rivals are the closest?
Are we going flight miles or driving miles?
Total miles. I'm not doing any timing of it. Because technically, if you take the Kansas City, this was interesting too. If you take Kansas City and LA, it's actually a shorter driving distance than the other ones I mentioned.
Yes, I can believe that. I would say probably Pittsburgh, Baltimore are very close. Cleveland, Cincinnati.
Nope.
Well, it can't be Green Bay, Chicago.
It's not. That's what I guessed because I got confused with Milwaukee.
It's New York and Philadelphia.
It's New York and Philadelphia at only 96 miles apart.
Right on top
Second
of
closest are Patriots and Jets at 204 miles apart. And then it is Packers Bears at 208 miles apart.
How far is it apart from Philadelphia to Washington?
Philadelphia to Washington would technically be, if you're looking outside the division, I just did it by divisions, but technically that division is the closest to each other by far, because it's like 100 miles from Philadelphia to Washington.
Well, the only outlier is Dallas, which has to come in from the central time zone.
Correct.
But the other three teams are like right on top of each other.
They are. Yeah, they're right there. But I thought you'd find that interesting.
I did.
I held the question, and I was like, this will be fun to have on the show. But yeah, in case it honestly blew my mind.
I was going east to west, but I was going before they did the division lineups, and I never would have guessed Kansas City to LA.
You could have given me 100 guesses, and I don't know if I would have gotten there. I mean, mathematically, I hope I would have, but...
Well, I would have had to look at a map, and I
looked at a map and didn't even cross my mind until I started actually going on Google Maps. I'm like, what is the farthest
apart?
Which one
was number one?
For which one? The farthest?
The farthest part?
Was the Chiefs and Chargers.
What was number two?
The Cowboys and Giants.
Okay, all right. Because I got that guess at some point. I never would have went Kansas City.
And believe it or not, before they moved,
it would have been farther.
They weren't. No, they were closer actually. LA and Kansas City are farther apart than Kansas City and San Diego by like 30 miles.
Okay.
Also blew my mind. It shows me I need to learn geography again, and I am way far behind. But that was a fun one. I thought it was interesting.
Okay, which is farther north, LA or Las Vegas?
I mean, considering I didn't know Western geography in this one, I'm going to guess LA because my initial thought would be Vegas is more north, because it's definitely Vegas.
Yeah.
Because the tip of Nevada is where LA is.
My guess, I'm just guessing right now. If you know in the comments which is farther, and I think Vegas is farther north than LA. I could be wrong. I know it's like a 3-hour drive. Anyways, while you're there, do your little...
I just did it 2 seconds ago.
You did?
Yes.
I didn't hear you say like,
because
subscribe.
You were worrying about this. Whoosh. Like, subscribe. They already heard it. They don't want to hear it 300 times.
Okay. Yeah, they do.
Unless you want to hear it 300 times and comment below. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, you had some questions for me too, and then I do want to get into these rankings because I'm really excited about the rankings here. I think...
Well, before we get into that, I do want to ask you about your weekend coming up real quickly. And this will be very quick. And this is because the show is all about me, as always.
I'm
going to be stuck with your dog again this weekend.
Yeah, rightfully so.
He doesn't sleep when he's with me.
Good.
He is up and down looking for you guys all night.
Good. I didn't want the thing.
Yes, he is your dog. He is your dog.
I didn't want him.
Yeah, well, you've got him now, and you should be taking him on a camping trip with you.
I would. We are going up north, northern Wisconsin. We're going camping way up north, middle of nowhere.
Almost to Lake Superior.
You and I were going to do a show, and then I realized, there's no service here.
None.
It's not going to happen. So there will be no show.
It was funny when he actually suggested, hey, Dad, I'll take my stuff. We'll do the show from where we're going to be camping in Star Lake, Wisconsin. I looked at him and I went, there's not a cell site. Unless it's coming. It's probably coming from Canada.
Probably. Oh, it's not that far. You have a whole Lake Superior in between you.
You do realize that a lot of signals bounce from Canada into... And the reason I remember that is...
There's no way the technology is big enough where a cell tower can get from Lake Superior through Lake Superior.
You forget how long I've been in this industry, and it used to be I would get roaming charges from customers that were in the thousands of dollars.
I haven't forgotten how old you are.
Because the signal would skip off of Lake Superior.
Right, when there was analog.
Yeah.
Analog used to reach from California to Wisconsin.
No, it didn't.
We're in bullet that it didn't.
Radio signals used to skip from WISN in Milwaukee. Used to be able to be picked up on a regular basis in Finland.
Right.
Because they would go over the North Pole.
And California radio stations could reach Wisconsin.
Well, there was an old one in Mexico that would reach almost up here.
Right. I just want to point out that you told me no, and then your next sentence was, there was a station in Milwaukee that could reach Finland.
There's still digital signals that bounce across.
I thought I was bad at geography.
Stop it.
It's digital now. There's no way digital is going to reach across Lake Superior. It doesn't matter. Why are we talking about this? But either way, we don't have signal there.
You're going camping this weekend, and you're leaving me with your freaking dog.
I am. Place we're going to doesn't allow dogs.
Kids, whatever. Kids are going to have a great time.
And it's because I'm going in a cabin. I'm not going in a tent. Obviously, if I have my own tent, the dog could be there.
You should go in a tent.
I want to go in a tent.
Hey, look. Have a great time this weekend.
It'll be a lot of fun. It's a place that, I used to go to all the time. And I haven't been there in like 15 years. So I'm really excited to go back up. There's a lot of cool places around there. I'm just going to get lost in the woods. I mean, that's my plan. I'm going to have a kayak. I'll get my workout in on the kayak and then just go get lost. I already told the kids. I was like, unexpected adventures. Because I don't get lost. I've never been lost in my entire life.
Because we didn't let you just go wander that far. We'd like to know where you were.
I've had a lot of unexpected adventures. Yeah, but I've never been lost.
Like when I got a call from a random minister in Illinois?
We don't need to tell that story.
Really?
Unexpected adventure.
What?
Unexpected adventure. We're not getting into it. We're not getting into it. But yeah, you're going to be stuck with the dog that you put in my house.
I did because the boys needed a dog. Every child should grow up with a dog.
Disagree.
Yeah, well, you've got him, and Cooper loves you.
My last dog.
No, it's not.
It is 100% my last dog.
I will get you another one.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
No, you won't.
Anyways, I have some questions for you.
All right,
so have a good time this weekend.
I will. Appreciate you taking care of the dog.
Suffering while doing it. So putting it on my eyes. So here's some random questions. And this is based off, I was watching Colin Cowherd today for a little bit. Some of these questions I saw there, I thought these are really
It's really tough, speaking of Colin Cowherd, because there's two really good sports shows on at 11 o'clock. Because you have Pat McAfee and you have Colin Cowherd. Both great. It's sometimes hard to pick which one to listen to.
Very different.
Very different. It depends which mood you're in that day, but both really good to listen to.
Yeah, and this
Colin Cowherd's more national. Pat McAfee gets a little bit more regional. But I'm a huge AJ Hawk fan, so
good one to watch. And I like Cowherd because he's on TV, so I can flip in and watch him because I can't get him on the radio.
Because again, proving my live argument that the older generation doesn't understand how to do YouTube.
I do.
And therefore, wouldn't be able to watch the live tournament. Anyways, questions. Colin Cowherd.
Okay. Colin Cowherd. Some of these are his, some of them are mine.
Okay.
First one. Will Davante Adams have over 1,200 yards in receiving this year?
Ooh.
I was going to say 1,000, but then I thought he'll get there.
1,000 is a good question too. Because here's what you have to think about with Davante Adams. There's a lot of talent and a lot of people to throw the ball to. You have Josh Jacobs, who's very good at rolling out and has proven that as long as he can stay healthy, and is going to get a lot of carries this year. You have Waller there.
By the way, I heard a possible trade that Green Bay is actually looking at him right now.
That if they were going to trade for him, they would have done it during the Davante Adams trade. It's not happening. But you have Waller there, who's a big target. You have Hunter Renfrow, who just re-signed, who's going to be a big target. So it's a lot more targets there and a lot more places to throw the ball. I am worried Carr is going to fall into the same trap that Aaron Rodgers fell into, which is he has that chemistry already with Adams from college. Is he going to fall into the trap of, I know this guy's going to catch the ball, so I'm just going to get him the ball?
Here's a percentage for you. How many of Aaron Rodgers' passes in the last 5 years were targeted to Davante Adams?
I mean, at least 75, if not 80.
Not that much. Not even close. 35%.
That was it?
That was it. Last year,
like 80% of his passes went to Davante Adams.
And certainly in the playoff game it was.
Right.
But yeah, it was 35%.
Yeah,
remember, he did have good weapons earlier.
Yeah, he did. I mean, for a while there, he had one of the best receiving cores as a whole that the NFL may have ever seen. I mean, definitely not something that the NFL had seen since Carter and Moss were together in Minnesota. But I would say, I don't think 1,200. No, I think I'll get to 1,000. I don't think I'll get to 1,200.
Okay. Next question. Along those lines, considering the receiving core Green Bay has, will Aaron Rodgers tie his predecessor with 3 straight MVPs? The only person to ever win 3 straight is Brett Favre. Will Rodgers do it? If he does, he'll tie 2 records. Brett Favre's with 3 in a row, and he'll tie Peyton Manning for the most
5
ever.
Total. There's a lot of talent out there in the NFL. It's going to be hard. with how loaded the AFC West is, I mean, you can't say not a prayer.
Not a prayer.
I mean, he's a 2-time MVP, and I mean, really, what's the talent difference that he has now versus what he had last year, except for Devontae Adams?
Packers are going to be a running team this year. He's not going to have that many opportunities.
Yeah, but you got to look at Matt LaFleur, though, as a West Coast offense guy. He's swinging out the backfield. You have to remember that a lot of passes are going to go that route, if you're talking on stats specifically. I mean, I think it's possible. I don't think dismissing it is the right answer.
I don't even think they win the division at this point.
You shut your mouth.
Okay, next one. Will Tom Brady play 17 games?
No.
Because?
I see too much of what happened to Brett Favre in Tom Brady right now, where Brett Favre got really checked out. Do I think Tom Brady was the Masked Singer? No. If he was, he clearly lost because he came back way too early. But I don't know. I think he really was looking into retirement. You don't plan a trip like this unless you're actually looking into retirement.
I think he made some definite commitments to family. They're going to be gone for 14 days. I don't think Brady makes that trip overseas.
I mean, he'll make it. He's committed.
I don't think he's going to make it. I think you're going to give him some time off to rejuvenate. I don't think he makes that trip personally.
I think he's going to get hurt. I mean, he's 44 years old now?
And his offensive line is beat up.
Badly.
Yeah.
Badly. So I just think he's going to get pretty beaten up himself, and I think you want to save him. If I'm the Buccaneers, I have the expectation that I'm not going to play him all 17 games. Why would you?
Well, if you
save him for the playoffs, that's when you need him.
And that's why I don't.
You're in a weak division. I mean, you should own that division, no matter who's your quarterback.
Look, with one exception, every division in the NFC is fairly weak. But we'll get to that in a minute. 2 more questions for you. Number 1, will Kenny Pickett be Pittsburgh's starting quarterback game 1?
If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said no way that Trubisky's going to be the quarterback throughout. But I don't think Trubisky has shown enough in preseason to say, hey, that's your starter for the whole year.
Is he showing enough before in the week practice during the week?
You haven't heard a lot about it. Tomlin runs a pretty quiet.
He runs a quiet, yes.
Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the league for a reason, and that's one of them. Is that he's not going to tip his hand. He already knows. He's one of the smartest people I've ever seen on a sideline.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows the answer already, and I believe he came into this saying Trubisky's my quarterback, and I don't think he's going to back off from that. I think he's smart enough to adjust when needed. But look how long he stuck with Mason Rudolph when Roethlisberger was hurt. He said, this is my guy and this is who we're going to roll with, and he's not going to shake a quarterback's confidence for no reason. I think he's made that decision. Trubisky's your quarterback this year, barring injury or just
bad play.
More than bad play. Mason Rudolph gave you bad play.
Yeah, but he didn't have a number 1 round pick sitting right behind him.
Well, and Kenny Pickett started a lot of games, so I mean, if anybody's ready, he's a guy that's going to be ready, but it's a different pace, especially coming from the ACC and Pittsburgh there. This is a different pace, and I don't believe in starting rookie quarterbacks.
I know,
right
and
away.
I don't
I never have. Even if you look at Trevor Lawrence, I mean, that was a shit show from the word go in Jacksonville, so that's a little bit of a different ball game. But Mitchell Trubisky probably shouldn't have started as early as he did. Justin Fields definitely shouldn't have started as early as he did. Daniel Jones is proving he shouldn't have started as early as he did.
Derek Carr's brother, which I can't remember.
David Carr.
Yeah,
he should have. Well, that's because you didn't have a team built around him, especially not an offensive line to protect him.
Destroyed his career before it got started.
Any quarterback that sat behind, except for Hall of Fame players like John Elway and Peyton Manning, have benefited from sitting. And you could argue, even look at Peyton Manning's record his first year. You could argue that, hey, he could have benefited from sitting that first year.
Well, look at how good Rodgers is. By sitting 3 years,
right,
he came in at a different level than any other quarterback.
Right.
So I don't think Trubisky is a starting quarterback for the entire season unless they are just winning game after game and Trubisky's leading them. They won't take him out. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be they're going to falter. Because I think the division is better than a lot of them.
I think if you're Pittsburgh, you have to go into this season expecting not to make it to the playoffs. And you just ride with Trubisky. I just don't think you put Kenny Pickett in that situation unless it's super late in the season.
Number 1 pick, and he's from Pittsburgh. I think he comes in mid-season.
It's going to be in the bye week if they do it. I don't know.
My last question for you. So you're saying no to...
I'm saying Trubisky's going to start the whole season.
Okay. And the last one, will Jordan Love be a Packer at Game 1, Game 9, Game 17?
This year?
Will he be a Packer this season?
Well, if he's there Game 9, then he's going to be there Game 17. That's a trade deadline.
Just asking.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. If Jordan Love was going to be traded, he would have been traded already.
No, I think he's going to be traded before the start of the season. I still think there's going to be a trade to be made.
If he's on the roster come season time, he's not going anywhere. I can confidently say that. I don't think he's going... I think Jordan Love is going to at some point start a game for the Green Bay Packers. Because if the Packers... They have to make a decision on his 5th-year option next spring.
He'll be gone by then.
Right? By March, they have to decide, are we going to extend him to his 5th-year option or not? And I think it depends on Rodgers, because here's the thing. If, say, the Packers go on and win the Super Bowl this year, and Rodgers retires and rides off in the sunset and it's done, why wouldn't you give Jordan Love a chance to see what he can do? Give him his 5th-year option and then let him start for a year. Why wouldn't you do that?
I will say LaFleur said the game is finally slowing down for Love.
You can see that. He's looked better than he has. He hasn't looked great. He looks how I expected him to look his rookie year. I think but he's getting better.
His rookie year was COVID year, so it's tough to judge him.
He's still a first-round pick.
It was a big stretch first-round pick. They panicked.
There's been stories coming out now that there's a wide receiver that they wanted to take who was taking a pick ahead of them, and it was a panic pick. I don't think he's going anywhere because, again, if Rodgers retires, why wouldn't you let him start? You spent a first-round pick on him. You might as well see what the kid can do in a starting offense. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Okay.
If he's going to be traded, I think it'll be after the season.
I could see him being traded after tonight's game.
You better not trade him for anything less than a second-round pick.
It will be for a 4th-round pick.
No.
4th or 5th.
What's the point?
Well, the only question is, who do they bring in? Who else gets cut that they're going to feel comfortable? Because the last thing
you bring in Blake Bortles at that point. He knows the offense. He was there last year. I mean, he's the guy you bring in to back up. Or you make a trade for like a Jimmy Garoppolo. Or if you can get the Panthers to pay Sam Darnold's contract, I'd bring in Sam Darnold. But then what's the point of all this if you're just going to bring in somebody else? Unless you truly don't believe in Jordan Love at all.
They do.
But if you don't, if our scouts don't believe in Jordan Love, then nobody else's scouts are going to believe in Jordan Love.
I don't think so. I think he's looked good enough that people are taking
Where's
notice.
He going to go? Who's going to trade for him? I mean, this is the 1 year in the NFL where you can look at it and say, yeah, we're pretty set.
Would be the place I would say.
Matt Ryan's going to be there for in the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, you will. They're looking for somebody in case.
But you're going to have to re-sign Jordan Love at some point.
Not Pat Ryan, Matt Ryan.
I said Matt Ryan.
You said Pat Ryan.
I meant to say Matt Ryan.
So, anyway.
I mean, he's going to be there. Why are you going to give up a pick for somebody who's going to be there? You're going to have to re-sign him at some point.
Look, I don't think Jordan Love is the answer in Green Bay. I think
Seattle's already proven they're not going after Jordan Love.
No, that's why I said maybe Indianapolis. And I could see that happening. I don't think Jordan Love, he may survive this season, but he will not be there at the start of next season.
I think it all depends on Rodgers.
Even if Rodgers leaves, I think they're going to have to make a move either in the draft or whatever, but I don't think Jordan Love is your answer going forward.
But why, if Rodgers leaves at the end of this year, why wouldn't you let him start for a season?
Because you watched Jordan Love then for 4 seasons and you don't believe.
But what else are you going to do?
Draft? Move up and get somebody decent?
But again, you just agreed with me that a first-round pick shouldn't start the first year.
I understand that, but I don't think Jordan Love is going to be the answer. You wasted a first-round pick. He was not a first-round pick. He never was. The Packers panicked.
He's never started a game. Well, he started 1 game. He looked really bad.
He looked really, really bad.
But he's looked better this year.
It's preseason. He hasn't played a starting defense all season. And he will not unless Rodgers gets hurt.
If he does, he'll start against a starting defense this week, at least for a series.
I don't even think so.
Because Rodgers isn't playing this year.
Rodgers isn't playing, and Patrick Mahomes is not playing tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't think I think they're both going to protect their teams, and this is going to be second string versus second string.
Maybe.
So
we'll see what happens, but that's how Trubisky got a job, was going against his second string quarterbacks. I just don't. I don't know what team's going to trade for him. There's nobody else out there. Well, maybe the Vikings would go after him. The Eagles, but they're going to run with Jalen Hurts as long as they can. You got
Indianapolis goes after
the Commanders. Why would you go at Matt Ryan's not retiring for a while. He's going to be there the next few years.
But they wanted Matt Ryan.
But you're going to have to re-sign Jordan Love.
Sure.
You have this year and then a fifth-year option next year if you decide to take it.
I just gave you my opinion.
But your opinion makes no sense.
But it's normally right. Because I think outside of the box.
I mean, considering how often you jinx teams by picking them, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that concept. But you'd have to trade for him. You have to trade for him this year or at the end of the season, and then give him the fifth-year option to give him 2 years. Where's he going to go? He's not going to go to Indianapolis because he's not going to sit behind anybody.
I think he's going to sit behind somebody because I don't think he's going to be a starter in the league.
He'll sit behind Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think he's going to be there.
He's going to require a bigger contract extension at some point.
Exactly, and the Packers aren't going to pay him, so they're going to trade him.
I mean, the Falcons, but they just signed Mariota. You got the Saints.
Look at how well it worked when they had Santana Dotson sitting back there. Who's
Santana Dotson?
Or not Dotson. Who's the guy?
Defensive end?
Seneca Wallace.
Well, that was a different ball game. I still don't know why Vince Young wasn't the backup quarterback that year.
If we have questions that we'd like to ask the Packers or any organization, my questions for Green Bay are, why is Paul Hornung's number not retired? And why did you not go into that season with Vince Young as your backup? Because he looked really good in preseason.
There were 2 quarterbacks we could have gotten that year. What was that, 2017?
Something like that.
We had Vince Young on our roster who looked really good in the preseason.
I just said that.
I know. I was agreeing.
Okay.
But he looked really good. And then all of a sudden he's cut, and we bring in Seneca Wallace, and then Rodgers gets hurt, game 2?
Seneca Wallace came in, and it looks...
He retired.
I thought he was probably sitting there in his street clothes because when he had to go in, it's like...
He didn't want to be there.
I wasn't planning on playing.
Yeah, I came here for a paycheck.
Yeah.
No, I'm retiring after this. And he literally retired after starting 1 game. We ended up with Scott Tolzien that year.
He got hurt in the first series that game.
Correct.
It was awful.
And then retired. He's like, I'm done. I didn't want to do this. And then you have Vince Young, and Colin Kaepernick was also there as well, which I really thought the Packers were going to go after that year. That was right after the kneeling thing and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't change the fact that he was a starting NFL quarterback that was on the free agent market that would have helped the Packers win.
Yes, he would have. You and I talked about it at the time. I would have brought in Kaepernick.
In 2 seconds.
And forget about all of the national attention. If Kaepernick agrees to come in and just play ball,
who cares if he kneels? We're allowing Deshaun Watson to come in after 11 games with what he is accused of doing.
Oh, I know.
And somebody kneels in a protest, and they're chased out of the NFL. I don't care who he is as a person. I don't care about any of that. This is football, if we're going to call it football. Win. He didn't hurt anybody, and that was a starting quarterback we could have brought in. So I really was rooting for Kaepernick to come to Green Bay at that point. And we didn't, and it was a waste of season.
And we were talking about that. I would have brought him in too. All right. We are going to rate the...
Before we get into that, I'm going to actually do the thing you asked me to do, and then let us know what you think about these questions in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
Every time I'm on top of it this time. Every time I'm going to introduce a topic, you say, well, wait a minute, and then you do it. So go ahead. Introduce the topic.
No, you can introduce the topic.
No, you go ahead.
I know you're going to miss me, okay? But this crabbiness right now,
not crabby,
is this
I'm not going to
evil mantra that you're pulling towards me.
I'm not going to get any sleep for the next 5 days.
Right. So be crabby later.
No,
you're being crabby today
because I know what's ahead of me.
I see the pincers out.
Pincers? Really?
Because crabbies, they have pincers.
Introduce the
crab.
You know, they only cut off one at a time because they can grow back.
Huh?
Crabs. If you cut off a crab's claw, it'll grow back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why when they are harvesting or they have crab farms, so to feed restaurants, they only take off one and they let the other one grow back. And in the meantime, they go and do their
I don't think that's true.
thing. Oh, that's absolutely true.
I don't believe you.
100% true. Want to bet? You tend to lose.
No, I don't want to bet. I'm not allowed to gamble anymore, according to my wife. But we do have a new segment that we're going to get into right now. It's not a new segment. It's just something we're going to talk about. But anyways, divisions. There's a lot of middling divisions out there. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to rank them from who we think is going to be the best division to the worst division, or worst to best. I don't know. Willy Wonka reverse it style there. I'll kind of let you pick because this was your idea. But what do you think? Should we go worst to first, or should we go first to last?
Let's go first to last.
First to last.
So I think we agree on the best division in football.
The best division. So we're going to go through this, and it doesn't matter if AFC, NFC. We're going to rank them.
There's 8 divisions. We're mixing them together.
Perfect.
NFL today. We're not AFC and NFC.
All right, even better. So I agree. I mean, I don't know anybody that could deny the best division in all of football is the AFC West.
And honestly, Brian, we had on the last show giving the rundown of who he thought would win each division.
Right.
Denver is going to be 8-0 with their schedule coming up. I think Russell Wilson is great early in the year, but what a division!
You've been ever since Brian mentioned that the Broncos were going to be in 4th place in the division. You have been studying the Broncos' schedule.
It's insane
at this point
but
to be no, look at how weak their schedule is. They're going to be 9-0 to start the season.
Do not sound like that, but if I do, fine.
What you have sounded like all week.
Best division in football. Russell Wilson's going to. I don't know who you can even pick in that division, because if Herbert steps up and has a great year, I can see the Chargers winning the division.
Yeah, that's definitely Herbert's year where he needs to step up, because he's going to be competing against these quarterbacks for a long time now. He's not going against a weak division anymore.
Right. And I think they're going to beat each other up a lot. So I don't think the winner of the division is going to be 14-2 or 13-3.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a division winner and a wild card coming out of this. I don't think you're going to get 3 teams from this division in the playoffs, specifically because of what you said. They're going to beat each other up, and the rest of the AFC is really strong this year.
So who do you think is the second strongest?
For me, there's no other question on this one as well. It has to be the NFC West.
Same here.
You got 3 teams that are solid, and I think a Seattle team that can be sneaky good. I think they're going to be bad, but I think they're going to upset some teams and win some games. They remind me a lot of the Lions last year. I think they'll be in a lot of games and have the potential to win 5 or 6 games.
But we'll drop it because of inexperience.
It's possible. But I think they're going to be in a lot of games and come up with a couple of surprising wins. So besides them, though, you have San Francisco, which really depends on Trey Lance. You have LA with Stafford, who has some questions. He's been hurt. He has an elbow injury they really haven't been able to explain. And you have a Cardinals team where I really don't believe in Kyler Murray. So this either has the chance to be the second best division, which I'm picking it to be, or this could be the worst division in football.
It's going to depend. Kyler Murray has a huge chip on his shoulder, and will he do an Aaron Rodgers and step up with that chip?
He needs to, and I hope he does. I hope he turns around and says, listen, I heard all this, and now I'm going to be the best quarterback in the league. Because he's going to go without DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
That's going to happen for at least the first few games. So again, I'm picking them as my second best, but I honestly thought about making this my worst division in all of the NFL.
Okay, I had them as my second best because they have the reigning Super Bowl champion. San Francisco, I think, is going to be a very, very, very good team.
All depends on the quarterback.
I know. And it still depends on what they do with Garoppolo.
They're going to trade him. They've already had him looking for trades. I said remember earlier in the season, before the draft even happened, I said Garoppolo was going to start games for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I also said that Baker Mayfield was going to start games for the Browns, and I was wrong on that. But Garoppolo still could start a few games for San Francisco. Say Trey Lance gets hurt week 1.
Well, and I think that's why they're kind of holding on to him, just to see what they've got, or if Lance really isn't ready for prime time.
But will Garoppolo play?
I don't think he plays in San Francisco. I think he gets traded.
But you think it's the second best division as well?
As of right now, yeah. So my pick for number 3 may surprise you. I don't know. But I'm taking the AFC North.
We're like for like right now.
Really?
I have the AFC North as well. The Browns are going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really good team. Even with Jacoby Brissett, he's going to win a couple of games. I honestly think that they're going to be worse once Deshaun Watson comes in, just because you have a quarterback that hasn't played in what will be a year and a half at that point. Where Jacoby's, anywhere he's went, he's been surprisingly good. Be it New England, be it Indianapolis, he's always been that quarterback that can go in and win some games for you.
And I think it's bad that they're going to put the pressure on him of Watson coming in and playing. If they're winning,
you go with Brissett.
You just kill them, and you keep Watson to the sideline, far away from the stadium.
I agree.
Until the next season.
I agree. The Steelers, I think Trubisky's going to play really well. George Pickens has looked really good, and those two have had a good connection, and the defense is going to be strong. And then Bengals, obviously, we're in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And the Ravens are always great in the regular season. It's just a matter of what they do in the playoffs.
I agree with you. Okay. Who's number 4?
This is where it gets really hard.
Because it's muddled.
Because there's good teams in each of these divisions, but there's bad teams in each of these divisions. My 4th best is the NFC North. Out of sheer, I don't know who else to put in this position. I think the Lions are going to be good this year. The Vikings should be good this year. The Vikings should be competing against the Packers for the division title.
Vikings should be winning the division.
They should be in the running for it.
They should win it.
I'm not going to say that because I hate the Vikings. But
I know, but they should win it this year.
They should be in competition with the Packers for it. The Bears are going to be terrible this year, but the Lions are going to be good. The Lions should honestly be in competition as well.
They should.
Even watching them on Hard Knocks, they just seem like they're getting better. And I'm a believer in Dan Campbell. I think Jared Goff, talk about a chip on your shoulder.
Right.
I think he's going to show up and have a great year. So my 4th is the NFC North.
Chicago is on their way to destroying one other quarterback in their career.
Which is sad because I really like Justin Fields.
For my 4th, I'm going with the AFC East. Because I think you have 3 teams. You got Buffalo, who I think is going to be the Super Bowl team this year.
Yes.
New England is sitting right on the verge. Miami could be sneaky good.
They always are.
And I think, while I think the Jets aren't going to be great, I think they're going to be competitive.
Jets can have the number 1 overall pick next year.
They may have, but they always seem to show up against their in-conference rivals. So I think it's going to be a fight. I don't think there are any easy games with the exception of the Jets in this division.
This is one where you and I strenuously disagree.
That's fine. It's happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 5.
Who do you got?
I'm going to go just because it's so muddled. NFC North. I mean, there are 2 good teams there. There's one on the rise. Bears and Jets are going to be fighting for number 1, according to you.
I do believe that.
Got one terrible team in there. And I was going back and forth between the NFC North and the NFC South for this one. But I'll give it to the North.
Yeah, I mean, the North is another one. Like, I obviously had them as my 4th best team. You have them as their 5th. It's either going to be the Packers running away with the division as always, or 2 of those 4 teams are going to step up to go with the Packers, or 2 of the 3 left, I should say. My number 5, AFC South. Reason being, you have the Colts there, who I think are going to be really good this year. I do think the Jaguars are going to be much better with Doug Peterson at the helm this year. Travis Etienne is coming back, who I think could have been a Rookie of the Year candidate last year, and could be, I don't know if they can give him the Comeback Player of the Year or whatever. This is his first year back. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a lot better this year. He looked a lot comfortable.
This is his rookie year.
You have 2 first-round draft picks from what it would be a year ago or 2 years ago at this point that really are having their rookie year this year. So I think the Jaguars are going to be really good. The Texans are going to be terrible, but it's Lovie Smith as a coach.
Right. And I want him to win so badly.
Lovie Smith doesn't lose.
I want him to succeed.
He's gonna get everything he can out of that team.
I just don't think he's got the weapons right now.
He doesn't. He doesn't at all. The predecessor destroyed what was a good team. But he is going to get everything he can out of that team, which means that they're going to win 4 or 5 games.
Okay. So I'm going with the NFC South. Where are we at? Number 6. You've got Tampa Bay with Brady. They're going to be okay. I think Carolina is going to be better than people think.
I disagree.
I just think they are. I think Mayfield has talk about chips on their shoulder. I think he's going to step up. I think New Orleans is going to be better than people think. So that's my next division, and then I would take the NFC South.
Listen, chips on their shoulder, and I'll get more into this when I have the NFC South because I have them lower than you. There's having a chip on your shoulder like Kyler Murray may have, like Aaron Rodgers has always had, like Tom Brady has, and then there's being a whiner. And Baker Mayfield may have a quote-unquote, I have a chip on my shoulder. If you have a chip on your shoulder, you shut up and go and do what you got to do. And he's just been whining all offseason.
Because he was treated horribly by that team.
He was treated horribly.
And yes, he's a different kind of player. He's got a big mouth, let's face it. And
you knew that with him coming in.
Correct. And I don't think he's out of character. He still shows up to play every week. I think Carolina's in good shape for right now.
That's fair.
The only question is, if I'm Carolina and Mayfield looks good this year, do you trade Sam Darnold? Obviously, I think they will, or try to move him.
Yeah, if not just release him. I mean, at that point, his contract's out of the way. I mean, at that point, you just release him. My number 6 is the AFC East. I think you have the Patriots and the Bills that are going to be really, really good. Obviously, Patriots, for me, I think are going to be outstanding, and the Bills are going to be outstanding as well. I think you have the Jets, who are, by far, in my opinion, the worst team in the NFL. I could see this Jets team not winning a game.
I could see Seattle not winning.
I don't think so. I don't. I think they're going to win a couple of games in their division. At least. But the Jets aren't going to win a game. If they do, they win 2.
Unless something goes completely sideways, Seattle is not beating anyone.
Seattle still has an amazing home field advantage. Let's not forget about that. I think that's going to turn the page a little bit. Miami is either going to be okay or terrible. I don't think there's any chance that they're going to be good. So I think the Dolphins and Jets really offset this division to be much worse.
The Dolphins are going to be that 8-9 win team, or could be, have the potential.
I just don't think they are. I think you talk about Baker Mayfield getting the raw end of the stick. Tua has since he got there. He was drafted, he was hurt, and they weren't patient with him at all. Mm-hmm. And the expectations were way too high for Tua coming in. And you started him, then you benched him, you started him, then you benched him. He just got a raw end of the deal. His confidence is shaken, and I just don't think he has the team around him to do anything. I think the Dolphins are going to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft.
I don't think so. I think they're going to be, not with some of the other teams you've got. I think Houston's going to be up there in the top 5.
I mean, who's the bad teams? You got Seattle, you got Chicago, you got Houston, you got the Jets, and then you have Miami. It's 5.
There's a couple. Look, there's always one team that underperforms. It could be Green Bay this year that doesn't make the playoffs and just underperforms. I'm being realistic. It could happen. You could see you could see Atlanta doing that.
You know, I won't be the Packers because you don't go from winning 13 games 3 years in a row to being one of the worst teams in the NFL because you lost one skill player.
They didn't replace him with any skill players. I don't think they're going to be in the top 5 in the draft, but I could see them not making the playoffs and going from 13 wins to 9 wins.
Fandom aside, I think you're out of your mind for even fathoming that.
Just realistic. I mean, Rodgers is the X factor. He's always going to be great. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
You have the best running back duo in the league.
And you've got a good defense that's got to step up. And you got a solid
offensive line.
And
a quarterback that has weapons.
You have no weapons in the wide receiving core. You've got a bunch of rookies. You've got a bunch of rookies as wide receivers, and the tight end is up in the air. So this is a throwing league. It's not. If this team was a team going into 1972, 73, I'd say Green Bay was in great shape. They're going to be running the ball and they're going to be pounding it. The wide receivers have to prove it to me before I'm going to go back and go, okay, I was wrong. And I would gladly admit I'm wrong. Just not sure about it yet. I don't think anybody who's watched it can be sure about it.
We're fighting now. Who's your number 7?
Let's see. Who do we got left? My number 7, AFC South. I mean, for all the reasons you said earlier, I think Indianapolis is going to probably be the team to beat in that division. I'm hoping Trevor Lawrence has a great year.
I mean, don't forget the Titans were the number one seed last year.
Let me finish. And you've got the Titans, who were the number one seed last year, who I don't think are going to take a huge step back. So it's going to be a good division. But you've got two teams.
Yeah, but you have it listed as your second worst division.
Yes, because you have Houston and you have Jacksonville, who did nothing last year. I hope Trevor Lawrence has a good year, but you've got a first-year coach, a rookie quarterback.
You don't have a first-year coach. You have Doug Peterson.
He's first year in Jacksonville. I think you've got two teams that are going to be good. You've got two teams that aren't going to be that great. You think Houston's going to be that great? How many games do you think Jacksonville is going to win?
8 or 9.
7 at the outside.
If the over-under is 7, I'm taking the over.
Okay. I just don't think they're going to win that many games. If they win 7 games, it will be a successful season for them.
Yeah, I agree. That's why you put that as the over-under.
Who do you have?
Medium. I have for my number 7 the NFC East with the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders. You have Dallas. Philadelphia has to win this year. Mm-hmm. They have spent a lot of money and a lot of time to make sure their team is better for their quarterback. And this is Jalen Hurts needs to step up. I've said it before. It's Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts to me that are the quarterbacks with the most pressure on their shoulders this year to succeed. The Commanders are going to be terrible. I have no belief in Wentz anymore.
Washington football team?
Whatever you want to call them. The ones out in D.C. The ones that wear maroon. There, you happy?
What a maroon. Bugs Bunny joke.
Old person joke. Yay. Anyways.
It's a Bugs Bunny joke. It's not old. Anyways.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny is only around in the 1920s. But okay, anyways, getting back to this with the Commanders, I don't have any faith in Carson Wentz anymore. He had his chance with Indianapolis and just choked. I think his confidence is shaken. I don't think he's going to be anything. You have an amazing wide receiver, but you have to have somebody that gets him the ball. I don't believe in their defense. I think their owner is terrible. I just don't think they're going to do anything. The Eagles, I think, are going to be good this year. I think it's going to be a lot in spite of Jalen Hurts, but I think he's good enough to compete. I do think the Giants are going to be better this year than they had been. I think they're going to be a 7-win team, and I think Dallas is going to win this division, personally, and I think they're going to have a pretty good team.
I think Mike McCarthy is taking him down the same path he took the Packers at the end of his tenure.
Well, you got to remember, before McCarthy took them down that path, he got a Super Bowl.
He did. He won a Super Bowl when he was younger and really motivated. I think I just don't think that team is going to be that great. Sean Payton, you got Jerry Jones, who will put in Sean Payton, win, lose, or draw.
Sure.
I mean, the only thing short of a Super Bowl, and McCarthy's out.
I think they could get to the NFC Championship and get to a Super Bowl and lose a Super Bowl, and he'll get another chance. But even then, I mean, he pulled the plug on Jimmy Johnson pretty quick.
Yes.
And had somebody else win a Super Bowl with Jimmy's team. So, I mean, it could happen.
I just think Sean Payton's going to be the guy in Dallas. That's going to be hovering over him. McCarthy doesn't like coaching under those situations. He kind of turtled in Green Bay. And
kind of turtled?
Yeah, he just went into his shell. Rodgers was beating him up. He was letting him do it and get away with it.
Right.
So I think the Giants are going to be better, but still aren't that great. I think Philadelphia wins the division, again, probably in spite of Hurts, but I think they're the class of the division right now. And the Washington football team needs a new owner.
Really badly. They need a new owner, they need a new stadium, and they really need to do just a refresh on everything that has to do with that team, just to scrub themselves of what's been happening the last decade.
Roger Goodell needs to just force him out and just start over, because I think there's still a lot to come out of the email scandal.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be covered up at this point. I mean, I think you need to scrub. I think you need to get a new owner and scrub the Commanders like you scrubbed, the T-shirts from the losing Super Bowl team. Just send all the Commanders gear to wherever so people in poorer countries can wear that gear and be done with it and just forget that it ever happened. Come up with a better name. Yeah. Or just go back to Washington football team if you want. I don't really care. but you just need to scrub the whole thing at this point. So obviously the NFC East then is your worst division.
My worst.
That's going to be the worst.
I do. It just doesn't have any feel of anybody really wanting to go out and take it. I can name teams in every other division that I think are going to want it. I don't see it in the East. I just think it's a bad division.
See, my worst is the NFC South. I think you have the Buccaneers, and then you have everybody else. I as much as I like to see Mariota be successful, I think they're going to be a 4-win team. I don't think Carolina's going to do anything. I think Matt Rule's going to lose his job before the season is done, and Baker Mayfield is going to be benched at some point. You have the Saints. I think Jameis Winston's going to have a good season, but I think they're a 7-win team maximum. I do think the Saints will be better next year. You have some good core there, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. And then you have the Buccaneers, who I think are just going to sweep the division and win every game except one against the Saints, because the Buccaneers can't beat the Saints ever. So you're going to lose at least one to the Saints.
So while we were different, I don't think we were that different.
The only thing that could have really changed it is the fact that I do think that the NFC West could easily be the worst division in football. I put them as my second just because of potential and the talent that's there.
Depends on injuries.
I don't even think depending on injuries. I think Matthew Stafford's going to be hurt. I think his career's coming to an end. By
definition, that's an injury.
Yeah, touche. I think Seattle's going to win some of these games. Trey Lance, we have no idea what's coming out of there. And Kyler Murray, we don't know what he's going to look like, especially now that DeAndre Hopkins is gone. So the NFC West could be the worst division in all of football.
Be a pretty dramatic flop for that to happen. But
it happens. It happens.
Look, every year in the NFL, 6 teams are in the playoffs for the first time that weren't there last year, and 6 team drops out. So I could see it being a flop division, but that could happen with almost any of these divisions.
You will see one team come out of the West. That is my prediction. You will see one team coming out of the West in the NFC, and that'll be the division winner. I don't think multiple teams come out of that division. Now, it is a weak NFC. One thing you and I both agreed on is that the AFC does have the better teams.
By far the best conference. The pendulum has flipped back to the other side.
But I do see here that you have half of the AFC teams that are really good, and you have half of the AFC teams that are going to be really bad. And once again, the AFC doesn't have in-betweens.
Yeah.
The NFC seems to have a couple of people, or a couple of teams, I should say, in there that are going to be that 8-win, 7-win teams. They're going to beat up and win some games they're not supposed to. I mean, the AFC is just going to have good teams and bad teams, and that's going to be the end of it.
Couple of divisions, couple teams in the AFC are going to be very, very bad.
The Jets are going to be terrible.
Houston, well, better.
Houston's going to be bad.
They're going to be very bad. Jacksonville, I think, could be bad. Could be good.
Jacksonville's going to be good this year.
I don't see how you're saying that. I really don't. I mean, Doug Peterson had a perfect situation in Philadelphia.
And won a Super Bowl.
Won a Super Bowl. He did. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl.
Sure.
And then what did he do after that?
Dude, who cares?
What did Doug Peterson do after that?
Who cares?
Well, you got 2 coaches that won 1 Super Bowl and then nothing. Unless they prove otherwise. Who do you think is going to... Okay, let me ask you this. Who's going to be on the going up the scale, and who's going to be going down between Mike McCarthy and Doug Peterson this year?
Ooh, good question. Good one. I think if I had Doug, where does Doug Peterson have to go but up? Right, this is his first year. I mean, you can't really say Doug Peterson's going to go down the scale at all. I mean, he has no scale. What does he have to compete against? The ridiculousness that was Jacksonville last year. I mean, he has no choice but to go up. You're not going to be worse than that.
It's going to be a calmer clubhouse. He will have control of the team. The team won't be having to deal with their coach staying at a college bar and dancing with co-eds.
Right.
But
so, I mean, that makes it an easy decision from that point of view. But I do think McCarthy is going to be better this year. I mean, this is the most pressure McCarthy's ever had on himself as a head coach. Hands down. So I do think I mean, if you have to choose a sliding scale, I mean, you have to choose McCarthy's going to be going down because, again, where does Doug Peterson have to go? I mean, you really can't go.
Well, you said he's going to win more
from there.
You said you take the over if it was set at 7 games with Jacksonville, so that means you think he's going to win 8, 9, or 10.
I do. But I also think that the Cowboys are going to win 8, 9, or 10.
Only because they've got nobody else to really play against other than Philadelphia.
Right.
I mean,
it doesn't have to be fair. It just has to be real.
I just don't think McCarthy is going.
I think I could see Jacksonville and Dallas finishing with the same record. Honestly, I really do.
Do you see? Let me ask you this: do you think Jerry Jones would fire McCarthy midseason?
Yes.
And bring in Peyton?
No.
Just let it finish out the year, and then I think if they fire McCarthy,
Jerry Jones doesn't fire people midseason,
with the exception of Wade Phillips, which he did.
Yes.
I could see them firing him and doing like the Packers did when they brought in Ron Wolf and have Sean Payton be that guy just up in the clubhouse evaluating things and getting ready to step in the next
you'll
year.
give Kellen Moore a chance at that point. I mean, if they're going to fire Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore is going to be your interim head coach. And then I think Sean Payton comes in, and I think Kellen Moore stays on the staff at that point also.
I do too, because look what he did with Jason Garrett.
Right. So I think if you're going to fire Mike McCarthy, that's the plan. And I could see that being in Jerry Jones' mind. If this starts to go south early, Kellen Moore is going to be my head coach the rest of the season. Sean Payton's going to lay low. There's a lot still to come out from that Miami situation. It's been covered, but there's still more there. And I think the NFL is looking at Payton right now and saying, you just need to stay away for
Jerry Jones, in my mind, already has an agreement in place with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Quietly, nothing announced.
Quietly, too. I could also see part of that conversation being Dak Prescott is going to be traded.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know who they're going to get for a quarterback. Maybe Jordan Love.
No. I mean, at the same point, it would be very Jerry Jones to trade a first or second round pick for Jordan Love.
Look, Jerry Jones falls in love with his quarterback, and they become part of his family. Romo was that way.
Correct.
Jason Garrett was that way. He was a third string quarterback there, but he became part of the family. So
yeah, Troy Aikman. Who was the other guy in the 90s after Aikman? That everybody thought he was going to be better. No. There's a guy in between.
Garrett?
No. Garrett was a backup for Aikman.
And he beat Green Bay.
I can't remember. He was on Hard Knocks. He was a quarterback at that time. I don't remember. It's going to bug me. But there's a quarterback in between there as well that he really liked. And honestly, the guy just played himself out of the position. He didn't give Jerry Jones a choice but to move on to another quarterback. And that's where Romo came into play. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm curious now. 1990s.
It could have been early 2000s, too. My dad is Googling.
Yep, I'm
now.
Googling and I can't.
My dad is Googling. He's really old.
Let's see. Well, they had Bernie Kosar for a while. They had Jason Garrett, Steve Berline. Nobody I can.
Oh my God, you're so bad at this.
No, I'm not. I'm looking. They had Ryan Leaf. They had Anthony Wright. They had Randall Cunningham in 2000.
Is Randall Cunningham on the Cowboys?
Yeah. They had Quincy Carter.
Quincy Carter.
That's who
Quincy Carter was who I was thinking of because Quincy Carter got a big shot when a lot of people thought that this guy shouldn't be.
They had Drew Bledsoe.
Quarterback.
They had Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
Romo.
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe went there after the Patriots.
Right.
Jerry Jones took the whole contract for Bledsoe.
Forgot about Quincy Carter.
But Quincy Carter was like the answer in Dallas for a long time until he literally played himself out of the position and really forced the hand saying, this guy can't be our quarterback.
Well, we are still going to do next week. We're going to have to do our preseason bold picks that are guaranteed to be wrong.
Yes. And we're going to pick every single week. We do have a pool that we're in. We're going to go in more detail next week when it comes to making those picks. See where we are, see where we can finish. We'll have Brian in as well to make sure he gives us his picks also.
Somebody's got to do it.
Because somebody's got to have the right picks, and we'll see where we finish. I think a friendly bet with Brian is actually in order.
I think maybe we have to think of something good.
I mean, We can send him cheese
and brats
and Sprecher root beer. Maybe some Spotted Cow. He's a beer drinker.
And what could he possibly send us from Florida?
Better weather.
That's not coming.
Disney World.
He's going to send you tickets to Disney World.
No, he's just going to send me Disney World.
Oh, okay. I'd rather have Universal personally because they have Harry Potter's world there. And I can get butterbeer. Oh, Disney can send us butterbeer.
No, but you can only get that at Universal, though.
I don't care where he gets it. You can order it online now.
Disney World is better than Universal. And it's not even close.
I know that, but Harry Potter world is better than anything in Disney. Overall, Disney's better, but Harry Potter world...
100% disagree.
What is better at Disney? Well, don't forget...
Everything.
You've got little kids.
Take away the little kids.
What's better at Disney? What's better than at Disney as an individual item that's better than Harry Potter world? You've been there. It's just like the books. And yes, I am a Harry Potter freak.
Listen, it's great. It's great, but here's the issue with it, is it's small.
It's not.
There's no room there at all.
That's because there's always...
It's so crowded.
There's always people mobbing the place.
You are waiting in line for hours, where at Disney, let's compare Hollywood Studios, right? Because they have the new Star Wars land there, right? It's much more spread out. You have much more room.
Yes, but
there's more shops there, so the lines aren't as long. Okay. The fact that Harry Potter World really only has like one spot that you can buy butterbeer.
I've got several spots you can buy it, and you can go from Hogsmeade to Hogwarts,
which you have to pay extra to do.
It's worth every dime. You can get to ride the Hogwarts Express,
which you have to pay extra to do.
Worth every dime. Hogwarts Castle is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Diagon Alley is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything when you're reading the book.
But you have to pay extra to do.
It's worth the money. It's the best thing in Orlando. My thoughts. We'll talk more about this after.
Why would you have two places in Hollywood? Okay, let's do park to park. I can go to Hollywood Studios, pay one price, and get everything that's there. Or I can go to Universal and go to Harry Potter World and have to pay to get into Harry Potter World. Hold on. Have to pay to get into Harry Potter World, different from the Universal tickets. And then have to pay to go to the other side of the Harry Potter World and ride this train, which, by the way, is the same price as the ticket it was to get in. It's not like you get a discount to that.
Every penny. And by the way, they've got great roller coasters there.
And then it's so small that it's not spread out. So you only have so many places to go because a lot of people don't pay to go to the other side of the park.
Well, then they're foolish. I mean, I love Harry Potter World.
It's great. But to compare anything in Universal Studios than Disney.
Oh, my God. So there's a couple rides in Disney. Space Mountain is great. The Stitch ride was awful last time I was there.
Sure. The experience is better in Disney all the way around.
It's cleaner.
Hundreds of rides.
It's cleaner. I'll give you that.
It's definitely cleaner.
That's the one thing that always amazes me is how clean Disney is at all times.
You know the amount of time that a garbage sits on the ground at Disney World?
Like seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Do you know why they have cobblestone streets going?
I do, actually.
And then give the answer.
Do you know the answer?
Yeah.
Do you know the answer why not only the cobblestone, but why it looks like it does?
Yes, because they were having to resurface it all the time because it was driving
Walt Disney, for those of you that don't know, had OCD.
To the extreme.
To the extreme.
Which you and I look normal.
Which shows, by the way, if you give somebody with OCD enough money, they can make pretty amazing things. Because he was a perfectionist. But yeah, no, he'd pave it to make it look perfect. And then people would come in with high heels and put marks in it, or shoes of some sort and put marks in it. And he'd make them repave it.
Right.
And so it's actually an honor to Disney the way the streets have like different marks in them. They literally go through and mark up the street with horseshoes and paw prints, and they take a stick and stab it into the ground as a testament that nothing can be perfect, but we can take an imperfection and make it perfect.
Disney is... You never see anybody smoke. I mean, back in the day when they allowed smoking at the parks.
They got rid of their smoking sections altogether.
I know they did. But Universal Studio used to be awful.
Yes.
Because there were so many smokers. When we took you as a kid, it was filled with smoke.
Correct. Disney always had designated areas. Designated.
And they were always hidden.
Correct.
So kids would never see people smoking.
Correct. And they did until recently. I honestly don't agree with getting rid of the smoking areas.
I don't think somebody should have to go all the way back to the parking lot to smoke
No.
and then come all the way back.
I look at Magic Kingdom. There was this walkway between parks
like
that you could go through, but it was hidden.
Right.
Like it took us 5 times going there because we had the annual passes. It took us 5 times going there to even realize that it existed, and then we're like, "Oh, this is the smoking section."
It was behind the cups, or
farther than that. It was really out in the middle of nowhere. You could only see it from the train if you took the train. But it was out in the middle of nowhere, and honestly, with how global, and I don't think people in the U.S. think about that, like with how global Disney is, there's a lot of countries out there that don't think of cigarette smoke the way that we do.
No.
And you never smelled it. Like, it was out in the middle of you never knew anybody was smoking there.
And if there was a cigarette butt, going back to when you were little, on the ground, it wasn't there long.
No, it wasn't.
It was gone.
I mean, Walt Disney was a heavy smoker, and he literally, even back in the day, had his pictures photoshopped so nobody would see him with a cigarette in his hand. So he was very particular on that. So I don't agree. Like, it's outdoors. Like, who cares? You know,
I do. It should never be. I like the way Disney did it because it was pushed back.
Correct. Secondhand smoke's a real thing. Go and do it in this pathway that's designated specifically for smoking that's around nobody else. Do that. Because it is out in the middle of nowhere. But people have addictions. You're going to allow alcohol in there. I mean, just give them a section to go and smoke.
You know, people had addictions? Wow. I've never had one, so I can't talk about that.
Good. Me either.
God.
Me either. Anyways, I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't know, but we proved that once again we have ADD, and everybody who's watching this show knows that I fought opiate addiction. We talked about that. So
long time ago.
Long time ago. Real thing though, and I don't envy anybody who does that. And your grandfather was a heavy smoker.
Yeah.
And he tried to quit. And your grandmother, I love her, but she would nag him. And finally I looked at her and I said, she goes, he just needs to be able to quit. I said, you just need to be able to stop nagging.
Right.
Wasn't the smartest thing I ever said to my mother. I don't remember much.
I never talked back to Grandma.
I know. That's why she loved you more.
Mm-hmm. She definitely did. She definitely loved you.
Anyways, we have digressed enough. It was a great show. I can't wait.
I will say it's one of those vices with cigarettes, especially. You know, mind-altering vices are a different ballgame. But when it comes to smoking a cigarette, to some people, it's a cup of coffee. It's not healthy. You should never do it. I never want to see my kids with a cigarette in their hands. I used to be a smoker. It's a terrible thing to do. It's really bad for you. But at the end of the day, if they're off in the middle of nowhere doing it, like, who cares?
I don't think they should have to go back to the parking lot.
No.
I disagree with that.
That's a bad experience, and it ruins it for the kids, too, because if they have parents that are smoking and need to go out in the parking lot and have a cigarette, guess what? The kids are going with them rather than just the kids going on a ride and them sneaking off to go in a smoking area.
Correct.
It's a different ballgame. But anyways, I agree. We have digressed way beyond where we need to be, but we talked about a lot of different things. So you let us know in the comments below what you think. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we drop a new video. So you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
Which is better, Disney or Universal?
It's 100% Disney. It's not even a question that Disney is a much better all the way around.
Harry Potter World is much better than anything at Disney.
You're out of your mind. You let us know, though, in the comments below. We will not be having a show next week. I'm going to drop this later on next week, but I will be up north with no service and nothing going on. I'm going to detox from technology for a little bit.
We will have a show before the weekend next week, because we're going to do our football picks.
We're going to do our football picks, and it's going to be a birthday episode, because next week is my birthday. This my birthday.
My God. Birthday month time.
Dude, when have I ever celebrated my birthday?
Well, you've been claiming every day is your birthday for the last week and a half.
Because I know my wife got me a present, and I want to know what it is. I don't like surprises.
You are such a 3-year-old.
Sometimes.
When your kids are more mature than you are.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Take your dog with you.
No, he's going to stay here with you, and I hope you enjoy him. But before we head out, any last words?
Enjoy the holiday coming up. Enjoy your families. Remember that if there's a problem with the family, you can always talk them through and bring the family back together. So love your kids, love your family. Enjoy camping.
You are so random.
I know.
I love giving you last words because it's the most random. I really have no idea what you're going to say. It's so random.
It usually is.
Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Sports Talk with Pat.
Bye, everybody.